I still remember the first time I walked into that penthouse nursery like it was yesterday. The city was quiet, wrapped in that late-night hush only glass towers know, and my head was still buzzing from the last round of board calls. My leather shoes clicked down the hall, each step a habit of control, of knowing exactly what I'd see when I opened a door. But when I pushed that nursery door open, the warm light, the faint hum of a humidifier, the little chestnut crib I'd picked out myself, there was something I didn't expect. A woman I'd never seen before. Black hair pulled back, plain navy uniform, sitting in my rocking chair like she'd been there forever. My daughter Sophie curled against her arm, sucking quietly on a bottle. For a second, my mind went straight to security breach. My voice came out clipped precise. "Who are you?" She didn't even flinch. Looked right at me with steady brown eyes. "Naomi Brooks, temporary nanny. Bright Care said you needed someone tonight." I wanted to take Sophie back right then, like I'd take back a company acquisition the moment I smelled trouble. But Sophie leaned her cheek deeper into Naomi's elbow, those tiny fingers holding on like the world outside didn't matter. "I made it clear no one touches her," I said. Naomi didn't lower her gaze. She was crying so hard she was hiccuping. I couldn't just stand there. Her voice was soft enough not to wake Sophie, but firm enough to let me know she wasn't apologizing. "Put her in the crib." "Not yet," she said, just shaking her head a little. "She's not past the startle reflex. Put her down now and she'll wake up scared." She didn't say it like a lecture, more like muscle memory from 1,000 nights of knowing when a baby would stay asleep. I crossed my arms. "You talk like you've done this forever." "Once is enough to change you," she replied, her eyes flickering in that way people's eyes do when they're remembering something they've lost. Turns out her son lost his father when he was just 2 months old. Nights alone. No help. She knew exactly what Sophie needed, and she gave it without asking for my permission. I wanted to challenge her, but before I could, my phone lit up on the changing table. Charlotte Lane, my board chair, 3 missed calls. Naomi glanced at it. No curiosity, just a simple, "You're avoiding something important. You don't know what's going on in my company." "I know when someone's pretending there's no problem," she said evenly. I'd spent years surrounded by people who flattered me or feared me. This woman didn't do either. I was about to press her more when the doorbell rang, sharp clipped. I checked the hall camera. 2 men in expensive suits, the kind you can tell have been pressed more often than paid for. Naomi's whole posture shifted, calm, turned to protective in a blink. "Stay here," she said, moving toward the door like she already owned the space. She cracked it open just enough for their smooth-voiced spokesman to say, "Mr. Kane, we need to discuss your late wife's debt." The other guy tried to peek past her toward the nursery. She placed a hand on the doorframe light touch, but you could feel it was immovable. "You have 3 seconds to step away from this hallway," she said. Voice low enough not to wake Sophie, cold enough to slice through the air. They blinked first, stepped back. She closed the door with the sound of a period at the end of a sentence. "They're not here for debt," she said. "They're here to see if this house has someone standing at the door." That was the first time I heard her talk about rhythm. To me, safety was locks and lawyers. To her, it was a living thing, a pulse you keep steady so the house can breathe. That night, she set a rhythm I didn't know I needed. Codes, security sweeps, even told me not to touch my phone for certain calls until morning, so no one could drag me into their timeline. At 2:13 a.m., a legal email hit CCing Charlotte demanding immediate action. Naomi stopped me mid-reply. "The night belongs to Sophie. Draft it, schedule it for morning. Don't let them steal your rhythm." So I did. And for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't reacting. I was dictating the pace. Then 4:19 a.m., an invalid elevator card swipe. Security caught it. Denied access. Naomi logged it calmly, called the garage to pull camera stills. And just when I thought the night couldn't stack any higher, Sophie stirred warm against my arm. Fever. My chest tightened. Do we call the doctor? Naomi moved like she'd done this in her sleep. Warm compress back of the neck, underarms. Lower the room temperature by 2 degrees. Skin to skin will help. I hesitated, then unbuttoned my shirt, held Sophie against my chest. Felt her breathing slow. Her tiny fists loosened. By morning, the fever was down and my inbox was full, but we walked into my lawyer's office with a plan. Debt collectors. Their attorney all sitting across from me. Naomi stayed just behind my shoulder, silent but steady. When they tried to push for private meetings at my home, my lawyer slid a packet across the table. From now on, all contact goes through legal. No doorstep visits. No threats involving a child. One of them laughed. We were just bringing flowers. Naomi didn't take the bait, just tilted her head slightly at me. Our unspoken code don't swing at distractions. The board battle came next. Charlotte tried to rush through a deal with a hidden clause that would give outside hands access to our most valuable data. I called it out, forced a committee review, and watched her face crack just enough to know the tide had shifted. Back at the penthouse, a white bouquet and a card were waiting at the door. Cooperate and it stays quiet. Naomi handled it like evidence gloves photos chain of custody. I realized I'd stopped worrying about the next move because she was already 3 steps ahead. That night over soup and bread, I offered her a permanent role, not just nanny, but head of household operations. Benefits for her son Jordan. A real contract. She agreed, but only with conditions. Sophie's bedtime stays sacred. No yelling into phones around her. And when someone knocks, the stance at the door never changes. Agreed, I said before she could finish. The next day, Jordan came over, backpack full of robotics parts. Naomi watched as he and I set up a door sensor together. I'd never seen her shoulders drop like that, like she'd been holding her breath for years. By evening, Sophie was asleep. Jordan was coding at the desk, and Naomi was labeling the supply cabinet, so even I couldn't mess it up. I leaned against the doorway. You know, the first night, I thought safety meant steel doors and a law firm on speed dial. She tapped her chest. Metronomes here then pointed at Sophie, but the conductors heard. We both laughed soft enough not to break the rhythm, and that's the thing. The right person at the right place doesn't just guard the door, they change the whole house. They make you see that power isn't in how fast you can close a deal, it's in how steady you can keep the beat when someone's trying to throw you off. So here's my question to you. If someone came for what you love most, would you hold the door or let them set the rhythm? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm curious how many of you know what side of that line you're really on.